into society, the impact that free-minded people have within the society, within the community, within families, within any institutions, organizations, and the entire world. Because now we are living under a system that's been built centuries way back, a system of exploitation, wherein all human beings are viewed just as some livestock by other groups, of beings or groups of people who seek to dominate the direction and the narrative of life in this world. And they seek to have the monopoly in terms of where is the world going, or where the world must go. What are the structures, what are the systems that must be in place, globally. There are such groups of people that are having that mindset. So now free-minded people become, a balance to the whole equation, but it doesn't sit well with those that run the systems, from a governmental point of view, to an institutional point of view. So let us look at matters of the economy, the business spaces, how do free-minded people, have an impact, and how do those who run that system, view them, respond to them, or treat them, right? So free-minded people, within any community or society, they have the power to disrupt economic exploitation, because they'll resist the extraction of resources, and challenge unfair labor practices. The extraction of resources when they don't benefit the citizens, that is when where free-minded people come in, to mobilize people, to conscientize people. And also they advocate for economic empowerment of the people, right? So in terms of the economic spaces, the business spaces, even within the work spaces, that is where they come in. Those are the free-minded people. They don't bow to the laws that are set to limit the potential of people or even workers. They don't bow to the structures and the system and the laws that seek, to oppress the workers or the people, Then in terms of market control, also they challenge the market control, So independent thinking leads to that alternative economic model or models, reducing reliance on colonial era structures or any exploitative structures like what we have here in Africa. Wherein the economic structures are for the benefit of external players, from other continents. Africa is very rich, but African people are very poor. What's happening? So that is where free thinkers now come in to say, no, we cannot have such a situation. We cannot have such a system. We African people are going to stand up to correct the system. So they are going to conscientize and mobilize the people. And also free thinkers have, that power to protect local industries, because that is where economic empowerment is. Localization of the industry has, the probability to empower the country and boost the economy of the country, unlike wherein the economy is run by foreign or external players, who then have a grab in the natural resources. They establish industries, they determine the pricing, they determine the trade laws, the regulation and everything, you see. So it is important to have such free thinkers in any space within the world, because, awareness of colonial legacies sparks patriotism, So they make you aware that, no, man, this system is still a colonial system. We are not yet free. So we need to challenge. So that is when the motivation and inspiration of patriotism come in, and even in terms of tariffs, they will have, a say in terms of, contribution as to how best can we, balance interests, and nationalization of key sectors of industry. Free thinkers are such people who have that mindset. because we need to protect the natural resources. We need also to participate, in the business spaces. We mustn't have a situation whereby there is a small group of people, the oligarchs, that are domineering the business spaces, such that they become so powerful, more powerful than the government. Then they tend to influence national policy in their own selfish interest as a private establishment. So that is the role and the duty of free thinkers, to make people see the other side of the coin, And also, when it comes to intellectual property, knowledge, awareness of self-identity, they always question intellectual property theft. That thing, wherein you find free-minded people challenging biopiracy, cultural appropriation, and patenting of indigenous knowledge. Because culture is the drive of the economy. So if people control their culture and then blend it with the business aspect, they are bound to establish economic foundations for themselves. So with that, they need to control the narratives in terms of their culture, patenting, they need to control and own the patents for any cultural, research or knowledge or information. So that is very important. Unlike wherein you find somebody now has, an authority of the narrative about the cultural identity of a people, say we discovered this about these people. No, it doesn't go like this. People need to own themselves, direct themselves, control themselves, So free-minded people also, they advocate for reparations after all the ages and eons, of exploitation, enslavement, and everything. So awareness of historical injustices fuels demand for compensation and restitution. That is now where free-minded people come in, right? So we have these, free-minded people who have ever had them, but all we have seen is the system is always quick to eliminate them, simply because we don't protect them, right? So that is why it's easy for the system to just isolate and eliminate, right? So let us learn and have a situation whereby, we are all geared to free our mind from mental chains. Once you free your mind, you will know what to do. Nobody will come and set you against your own neighbor, against your own brother, against your own, people. Nobody from outside, from near and far, will come within your spaces to cause division and hijacking of your destiny and control the narrative. No matter how much money they have, as long as we free our mindset, we will know, what to do in terms of national policy, in terms of the governance, in terms of, participation, the proportion of our participation within the business sector, our contribution within the economies, right? Because as long as we don't free our minds, we only have just isolated people here and there, few people who are free in mind, the revolution won't be a success. We need to all en masse be well informed and have that willingness, to really define our freedom, define our revolution, define our own identity, define our destiny, define our lives as human beings, be it whatever country you may find yourself in, whatever community, whatever society. We are all human beings, and we all have that human right to defend our identity, our integrity, our morality, ourselves, and also preserve and defend the inheritance for the coming generations, right? So, yeah, man, that is what we just been discussing today. Free thinkers, free-minded people, and their responsibilities and duties within any spaces that they find themselves in, and how they are viewed, and how we also view them. How do you view any free-minded person today? who doesn't just go with the wind, who doesn't agree